Hi, welcome to the Daily Well. This is Rita Patel. I am a health coach and a well-being strategist. So all that means is that I envision the possibilities and how to make it work in your life. So today, this is the third episode of the Daily Well, and what I want to talk about is, which hopefully will help a lot of people, is the whole idea of stress and how it's related to the brain and the physical body, and how it all works together with our when we eat and with our mood and thoughts. So what is stress? And stress is, well, essentially you're resisting something. And what do you resist? Anything that is danger, you're afraid of, something you don't want. And so we're actually set up that way. We're always looking, you know, is there something not right here, or am I going to be okay? And that's normal and natural and important. But the problem is that we have become to be in that state all the time. So, and then what happens in our body is that it doesn't matter if it's something like, oh, we can't get, like we have a lot of things on our to-do list and, you know, we feel like we don't have time, versus like, you know, thousands of years ago, maybe you're being chased by, I don't know, a lion or something like that. In your body, it's the same reaction. So there's no differentiation between the fight or flight and the relaxation state. So what do you do when you're essentially in a state of crisis all the time? And before we get to that, because I am going to tell you one thing that you can do that everyone can do, and it's easy, is that what I read recently, the whole like worrying like this all the time is essentially a post-traumatic state. So what does that mean? It means that we are thinking about something that we're resisting, that we're either afraid of or we don't want. And what we've done is that we've hooked a story around it based on something that's in the past and that we feel like is going to have a negative outcome in the future. So we're really not in the present. And what I also read was that if we didn't do that, if we didn't like hook onto that fear and we just let that feeling pass, it would pass somewhere between 7 to 12 seconds. So how do you do that? And again, we'll get to that in a second, just hold that thought. But what I wanted to get to next was just what really happens in your body with stress, and how it's all related. And so one of the things, the major thing, is that in our minds we feel like we have less time, when time is really always the same. Time is just time. The other thing is because our bodies inside feel like that there's danger, we're going to store fat, we're going to crave sugar, we're going to crave the things that will sustain us over a long period of time. And we'll have trouble with our memory. I have a little sheet here. It's related to a lot of different chronic diseases. It could lead to hair loss. People have anxiety, depression, personality changes, and with our muscles, we could have aches, low back pain, which is very common and related to stress, and also like muscular twitches and nervous tics with our digestive tract. What stress does, it slows down digestion. So you don't actually absorb a lot of the nutrients, and it leads to a whole lot of problems, including ulcerative colitis. And with the skin, you can have breakouts like acne, and then more serious problems like eczema. With the mouth, you can get dryness in your mouth. That's a key sign that you're stressed. You can get ulcers. With your heart, it could lead to hypertension, cardiovascular disease. You can, if you have asthma, it will get worse if you're under high stress. And then it also affects your reproductive organs. So there's a lot of different effects on your body. And really, if you just take a step back and look, it can affect everything in your body. So this is overwhelming if you think about it in all these detailed ways. And just to know that this is how we're built. We're supposed to be assessing and looking out for stuff. But our environment has changed, and we're doing it all the time. So what do? And the amazing thing is that you can actually prevent stress. And, or at the very minimum, when you're feeling like it could lead to that, you can stop it. And when I say amazing, what I mean is it's with our breath, because it is the one thing that, in a sense, that connects like our minds, thoughts, and brain into our physical body. It's also part of our operating system. And you know, if you think about it, that's kind of, it's cool. It's amazing that that all of us are built to stay in balance. And it's not like we have to seek anything outside of ourselves. We just need to use our breath. So what does breathing do, breathing properly do? It does everything the opposite of stress. So it helps release 70% of the toxins in our body. It reduces hunger, it reduces cravings, and let's see. Now, why all this is important is that it brings you into a state of calm. And so it moves you from the sympathetic fight or flight system to the parasympathetic and releasing all those calming hormones. And that's when we all know we make the best decisions. You know, so if we're calm, we can really clearly look at the situation, we're aware, we're in the present moment. And then breathing, what that does is it brings you down into the present moment, and then we can really be able to enjoy and live. And really, when you're in crisis, you don't feel like there's any option. And here, it brings you into possibility. So you're aware. You could really, it's like the gateway to leading an amazing life. So how do you breathe? So really simple. What I do is, what I tell people to do is called the 1 minute breathing. So it's basically like 4 to 6 breaths, and you want to do it regularly throughout the day. And the more often you do it, the more it becomes a habit, and it's like a muscle. So it's going to have a lot of effects after that 1 minute. And you can always do it more than 1 minute. It's really easy when you're first starting out to tie it to something that you already do. So it could be when you're driving, like every time you're at a red light, or it could be every time you go to the bathroom, something like that, or before you get out of the car. And then you'll start doing it more and more. If you take public transportation, you know, whenever you're on the subway, train, bus, something like that. A lot of people don't know what deep breathing is. So the main thing is you want to breathe out of your nose. Breathing is 4 parts, and 3 parts take place in your nose. And it's helpful to visualize and think about, you know, if you put your hands here when you first start out, like right below your chest, above your abdomen, and imagine filling that up. So I'm going to exhale. So when I did that and just focused on that area of my body, I was able to breathe in more than 4 counts. And 4 counts is enough, but you can do more than that. And then you breathe out, and you do that 4 to 6 times, and you'll notice a really big difference. And while you're doing that, what you want to do is focus on how you feel in your body, like even like how the clothes are moving against your skin, feeling the muscles relax, feeling your abdomen rise. And you know, your lungs are not necessarily in the front of your body, they're in the middle. So you can also imagine like your back expanding, the side, all of that. And what that does, it gets you out of your mind, out of the thoughts, and gets you unhooked from everything that's going on. But what you can also do is, you know, while you're doing that, if you want to use your thoughts, you can use them to your advantage. And you can say to yourself, as you're breathing in, breathe, and as you're breathing out, smile and relax. And just by the act of smiling, you're going to feel relaxed. So that's a nice like 2-way tool. And then the third thing you can do, it's breathing again. You always start with your breath, but then you can actually harness the power of your mind as opposed to being led by it. And what's really great is it's called the 2-minute vacation. So what you do is you take a few breaths, and then you reach into your memory bank, because now you're relaxed, so you can actually activate your memory better. And you pull out a really great memory of like when you're on vacation, or you know, being with a friend or a family member, something you always enjoy, and you experience that in those 2 minutes, and it changes your whole physiology. It makes everything work better. It removes the toxins, like I said, your digestion's better. And you don't even have to actually know any of this stuff or think about it, but just, it's just the breath. If you breathe properly and you do that often enough, that would be really, really helpful. And you know, one of the things is we breathe about 25,000 breaths a day, but it's not really, it's the one area where you don't want to be increasing that, because all that means is like the shallow increased breath is increasing anxiety. You want to have, it's more the quality of the breath. And so when we come back, I'm going to show you a really easy, tasty dish that you can make when you are feeling stressed. So the whole experience, not just, you know, getting food in your mouth, but just the whole experience will also de-stress you and make you feel great.
When it comes to staying healthy and fit, eating more colorful fruits and vegetables every day really does matter.
Hi, so welcome back, and on our theme of relaxing and enjoyable experiences, today we're going to focus on something that's warm and comforting, and what comes to mind usually is soup. So I'm going to show you couple different options and how to make a really simple, easy, tasty soup, not making it complicated, and that makes it that much more enjoyable. And when anything is enjoyable, you're relaxed, so you absorb the nutrients and you have a good experience. So today's soup is inspired by my mother's tomato soup. And it's probably the best soup that I've ever tasted. And to this day, I don't think I've found anything that comes close. And I've asked her over and over, like, you know, what's in it? Because it's so good that I feel like it has to have some trick. And really, it's just a couple of ingredients. And what I learned from that is that something that tastes really good and nourishing, it doesn't have to be hard or complicated. Simple is enough, and sometimes more than enough. So what's in her soup is this. She basically takes a tomato or two, and an onion, and then ginger, and, you know, probably not this much ginger, but I'm just showing you what ginger is, and a couple pieces of garlic. And in my previous shows, I talked about how you layer flavors, and so beyond this, so she would add a couple spices, and that would be black pepper, which I think is right here, and some turmeric and a little bit of cumin, and that's it. And you can leave some of that out if you want, but that's the whole dish, and it's so amazing, and it's so comforting and warm. And what I've done is taken that and added some things to it, and that's what I'm going to show you today. But before I get to that, I took that idea and came up with another soup. It was wintertime. I wanted something heavier, but I was tired, but I always want something that tastes good. So what I did was I went into the fridge and found that, well, I had potatoes, so I took a potato and just, like, not this whole thing, but about half, maybe a quarter amount of the dill, and some lemon with a little bit of black pepper, and just threw it in a pot, and it made a really amazing, delicious soup. So what I'm getting at here is you just need a few different ingredients, some spices and herbs, and you can put it together without a whole lot of effort. And you can have something really nourishing quickly and easily, and the idea that it's not so hard to do, that it tastes good, really takes away from the stress and puts you in a good place. So for today, I'm going to start with my mother's base, which is a tomato, and we're not really chopping a whole lot. I'm just chopping into a couple pieces. You can also do this in a crock pot, and if you do it there, you don't really have to chop much at all, because just the slow cooking will really dissolve everything. So here I go. I'm just gonna, and remember to hold your knife correctly. So I'm just chopping the tomato into 4 pieces. Here's my pot. Just gonna plop it in there. And then the next thing would have been onions. So I'm just gonna take the skin off. Okay, let's peel this off real quick. You know, and it's not just me. The first time my husband had this soup, he kept asking me what was in it. It's just that good. So, all right, and you just take this off, and I'm going to put 2 pieces, plop it in there, and then I'm going to take 2 pieces of garlic. If you like a lot of garlic, you can add some more. I'm just going to peel them and put it in there. Let's see. You see on TV with other cooking shows, people smash the ginger with the knife to get the skin off easier. I don't like hitting my food, so I don't do that. Sorry, got 2 pieces of garlic in there, and then ginger. So this ginger has the skin on it. I'm going to keep it on. I always say that if the skin looks good, it's fine, and you can eat it. A lot of the nutrients are in the skin. So I'm just going to cut this piece in half. It's a little big. It depends on how much ginger you like. If it's just too much, just cut it down. If you want more, put it in. Put that aside. And so what I've built on top of that is celery. So I already took 1 stalk of celery and chopped it into 4 pieces. So here we go. Put that in there. Bell pepper. What I like about bell pepper, even when you cut it, is you're just going to take the inside out real quick. There you go. It's just got this, it's not like lemon, but it has a similar category type of smell. The scent, it brightens things, so I like to use a bell pepper when I can. And if you don't have that, that's fine. Okay, throw the rest of the bell pepper in. And then sweet potato. And I like the sweet potato because it gives a little bit more of a heavier feel. You could leave it out. You could just keep it a tomato soup. I would add a couple more tomatoes if you have them. And that's it. We're done. So the next thing is you add some water. I have some right here. And you just want to add enough that just comes to cover the vegetables. And I'll show you in a second. You don't have to be too precise. If it's not, when you're done with it, if it's too thick, you can add a little bit more water. So I don't know if you can see this, but well, when I tilt it, you can't tell. But I basically added enough water to just cover the vegetables. Then I'm going to put this on the stove, cover it, and put it on medium heat. And it's going to come to a low boil, and in about 10 minutes or so, it'll be done. And after that, what I do is I blend it. I use a little hand blender. This is called a magic stick or smart stick. And if you don't want to do that, you can use a blender. Or if you want a chunkier soup, you just actually spend a little bit more time chopping them up a little bit smaller pieces, and you throw it in the stovetop. And afterwards, you can add some other ingredients, and I'll let you know what that is when we come back right after this break. So, okay.
There's a crisis in America. More than half of us are overweight. The advice experts agree on is to eat more fruits and vegetables as part of a healthy diet and be physically active. Eating 5 to 9 servings of colorful fruits and vegetables and being active every day will help our kids stay healthy and fit. Eat smarter, be active, and get healthy, America. Because the figures don't lie.
Hi, so we're back again, and the soup is almost done. Everything is softened. It was on the stove for about 10 minutes, and what I'm going to add now, which I could have done in the beginning and I actually forgot, so I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the spices. And here I'm going to add the turmeric. It's like I add that in everything if I can. Just nice bright yellow color, slightly lemony flavor. It doesn't really add a whole lot of other strong flavors, so you can add it to everything. I did want to show, it looks like ginger, and if you break it open, you can see the really, really bright orangey yellow color. Love this color, makes me happy. And so we added the turmeric. I'm going to add a little bit of cumin. Again, I'm not really measuring. It's up to you. I would say if you're making this soup and you use the sizes of the vegetables that I did, you want about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of cumin, maybe half a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon of the turmeric. I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper now. You know, all these foods, it's not just the experience of making the food and that it's quick and easy and it tastes good, but all these ingredients are anti-inflammatory. So that really helps when we have stress in our life, because it brings us from an inflammatory state to a more soothing alkaline state. So basil, I'm going to add some basil. Basil on its own is very relaxing. I have a basil plant in my house, and just like walking by and smelling the herb, it's I can instantly feel myself relax. So that is its main quality. And I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon, just a pinch. Okay, and that's it. So I'm going to also add a little bit of olive oil. I could have added that in the beginning, but I don't like to heat up olive oil. Heating it up maybe could bring it to a state where it gets too high of a temperature, and that's not good for it. So the olive oil, it just adds flavor, and also it helps absorb the fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A. It makes everything orange. And then I'm going to add a little bit of lemon. What I like about lemon is that it rounds out and brings out, brightens all the flavors, and also just the smell of citrus. It's very relaxing. Like some people I know will peel an orange when they're stressed out because just the smell of that makes them feel good. So I just got some lemon. Put that aside. And I think that's it. And I'm just going to blend it now. And okay, we have a little piece like that. Okay. So what I did was I left a few pieces in here. I'm just going to put this down. I left a few pieces to just kind of keep it a little bit chunky, and then at this point it's done. You can add a little bit of salt, and if you want to add more, you know, soup is still hot, you can add some greens, which I'm going to do. I had some kale, frozen kale in the refrigerator, so I'm going to add some kale. You can add some beans here. You can also add some shrimp if you like shrimp, or some shredded chicken, and depending on whether or not the food is already cooked or how long it takes, you can put it back on the stove for a couple more minutes. With the greens, just from the heat of the soup, it'll be enough and it'll cook it through. And that's it. I'm just going to stir it up. So with my ladle here, and I'm going to put it in a bowl so you can take a look at what it looks like. I always like a little bit of crunch with my soup, so I sometimes add some nuts. So, and there you go. I hope you can see it here. And it's bright orange, green, and really, really tasty. So I'm going to take a taste right now. And then the heat from it afterwards with the bright lemon is really, really good. So one thing I wanted to say is we've been talking a lot about stress and like how to prevent it, and how this is all helpful because it's quick and easy and it's nourishing. The taste makes you enjoy it. The one thing to remember is we focus so much on quick and easy just to get through it, is that while you're doing it, it's important to pay attention, because one of the things that I mentioned was that stress affects your memory. So it also affects it in a way of like, how do you remember the events? So for example, if I had made this and I was thinking about other things, or I was trying to multitask, I'm not going to have a whole lot of positive feelings associated with making this and then even eating it. It's not going to feel good, and I'm not going to remember it that way. So I'm less likely to be excited about wanting this and thinking that it could make me feel good. And so what we're doing is we're essentially, while we're experiencing all this, is we're creating a story. So in a sense, we're all storytellers. So, and why is that story important? Because it's all about connection, and connection is what makes us human. It's the thing that is important to all of us. And I found a quote by Brené Brown. She's really well known, especially lately. She's written a book, and well, many books, but there's one on like things to live a wholehearted life, and she talks about connection as one of the main things. So I'm going to read a quote from that to kind of show you how, like, why it's so important. So, and what she says is, it's like, I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from that relationship. And that relationship is, you know, with yourself, with everything and everyone around you. And that is what you're doing when you're making this food, when you're making this dish. You're valuing yourself, you're valuing others, you're being connected, you're enjoying the smells and the colors, and it's creating this, you know, really nice story. And so, you know, breathe, enjoy, be nourished, and share with others. So thanks.
Prescription drug abuse is a national epidemic. The new in way to obtain drugs is through parents' or grandparents' medicine chests. Removing prescriptions from your cabinet is the best way to keep drugs out of the hands of our young people. We've got to work together to protect our teens, our seniors, and our environment. Clean out your medicine cabinet today. Please participate in Operation Medicine Cabinet and drop off your unwanted or expired prescriptions at one of our law enforcement drop-off sites in Oakland County. We can't ignore this situation anymore.
Hi, so welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed the show, this episode of Daily Well, talking about stress and breathing. And if you have any ideas for a future show or questions or comments, feel free to contact me at my email, ritagpatel@gmail.com, RITAGPATEL. And I just wanted to leave you with a quote. It's about breathing, so if you do it properly, here's the quote. If you're floating downstream in your boat this way, you don't have to paddle, you just have to steer. And that's by John Dilliard. So keep that in mind, do the 1 minute breathing, and enjoy.